Hi everybody, welcome back. In our last video, we made the cover and the binding for our album, and today we're going to make the page bases and get started on the pages. So in order to make your page bases, this is very much the same as I do on many of my albums, so you've probably seen it before if you've done one of mine. I've got started on this one a little bit. This is 7.5. I'll move that out of the way so you can see. So you're going to need 4 pieces, 7.5 by 4.5 out of your cardstock. So you're going to need 4 pieces, 7.5 by 4.5. And you're going to take the 7.5 inch length, place it in your scoreboard. If you're using a small scoreboard like this one, you can score it at 1/2 inch. Turn and score at 1/2 inch again. If you've got a longer scoreboard, just go ahead and score it 1/2 inch from each end. Okay. Trim the corners as shown there. All right, so you're going to just take from the score mark out and just trim each corner. Right, don't cross that score line. Then you're going to need 4 pieces of your cardstock that are 4.5 by 6.5. And I apologize. I know if I made this album smaller so that the pages were, that you could cut this larger one 6 instead of the 7.5, you could use a lot less cardstock, but it's just the nature of this paper that I want a slightly bigger page. So we're going to use a fair bit of cardstock. So go ahead and cut 4 of each of these pieces. Score this one, fold it and burnish it, like so. And we are going to attach the smaller piece to the larger piece, like this. So you can use score tape here, which I do a lot. I'm going to use my art glitter glue today, or you can use whatever adhesive you like. Going to put glue on one side, or I should say one end. It's one side and one end, really. Okay, so there we go, just like that. I'm going to take this smaller piece and just line it up so that it matches. I'm just picking it up so I can make sure I'm matching along this top edge and along the 2 corners, and then burnish it. Using a baby wipe to make sure I don't have any excess glue. This is a dry baby wipe, by the way. I use the ones from CVS. I quite like them. They don't seem to leave a lot of lint or anything like that, and they're quite inexpensive. So then you're going to go ahead and do the opposite end. This is, I don't know if I said, this is green artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. The color is just called green. It's one of my favorites. I'm pretty sure we talked about it a little bit in the last video about my favorite colors. I go through a lot of the green and the blue. Now, I lined this end up. Now, odds are that you are not 100% perfect with cutting and scoring and whatnot, so you can see it's kind of forming a little bubble. So all you have to do is just burnish it down so that it's flat. It'll be fine. Okay. Make 4 of these. That's your base. All right, so I've got 4 all made. I made 3 of them off camera. All right, now we're going to set one of these aside. Now what we could do is put these in the book and then add our embellishments, or we could embellish the pages first and then put them in the book. It's entirely up to you which you're most comfortable with. And I'm trying to decide if I should put them in or not. I think I will put them in the book and then do the pages. Hang on, so let me grab this. And what I should have done when we did the binding, and I didn't mention it at the time because I didn't think of it, is miter these edges. Okay, so just take your scissors and trim the corners. And I'm doing it fairly sharply because usually I make my spine shorter than my pages, but I didn't this time. And so that would make them a little more difficult to get on without a good trim. So let me go ahead and do this. Just make sure you get all the way down to the score mark there, but obviously don't cut into your book. There we go. All right. Clean that up. I've mentioned many times that my workspace is small, so it really is essential to try to keep it as neat as possible while working. The more stuff you have around you, the more difficult your job will be. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a look. I think my cover came out pretty nicely. I don't really have any corners I don't like or anything. I'm just looking to see if there's one side I prefer to be the front over another. And got a little something on the cover there, but that's gonna be covered anyway. Okay, we'll just call this the front. So you can take your page, you've got a tube, and it needs to slide over these fins. So just do a dry fit. That fits nicely, no problem. And you can use wet glue for this, or you can use score tape. I am going to use my score tape just because if ever I'm going to have a problem and have to pull it off, this is the most likely place. And I can get something with score tape off, but I can't get glitter glue off. What I'm doing here off camera is pulling my score tape to decide what size I want to use. So, well, obviously I don't want to use an inch. These are a 1/2 inch, but I usually leave my pages up a little bit, and I don't want any adhesive sticking out below. So I'm thinking about using 3/8. I don't think so. I'm gonna go ahead with 1/4 inch. If you're using glue to do this, a wet glue, it's not an issue for you. All right, so I'm gonna take this tape and then put it closer to the top than the bottom of this fin. And you could do this before you put your spine in if you wanted. I don't usually, just because I don't think of it. But it would be easier if you did it before. That tape. All right. And what I like to do is just take, I already dry fit this one, so I'm just taking one piece of the tape off. I'm going to slide the page over. The first one for me is always the trickiest one to get straight. You want to leave a little bit above that crease. You don't want to put the page right down onto the base where you won't get a, well, that looks pretty good. It's a miracle. Okay. What I was saying is if you put the page too far down, like right down into the base, your pages will not turn freely. So make sure you leave a little bit of space. And then I am just taking, put this out of the way, just a sharp tool, whatever you've got to get in there. Be careful not to poke through the page, and just lift. Once you lift one end of the tape, it generally just slides right up. And brush that down, and that looks good. All right, let's do the next one. Typically I work back to front. For some reason I'm doing, oh, I didn't dry fit that, but I'm gonna hope for the best. For some reason I'm working front to back, but that's okay. All right, so again, slide that down on there. I'm lifting this page up to see how straight it is compared to that one. That looks pretty good. I just pressed that lightly just so that I could fold it over. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. You know, at this stage, you really want to take your time and make sure everything's square and lines up and not crooked. You know, if you watch my videos, most of the time I'm like, oh, that's a little crooked, that's fine. But at this point, you really want to do the best you can, because it is the foundation of your book. It's going to make everything much easier if everything is straight and even now. Whereas if you start out with something crooked and then keep going, it's just going to make your life more difficult. So we're just going to dry fit that one. It's fine. Slide that down. Looks good. Oops, I lifted it up a little bit just there. Okay. Let's try that again. I know this is, at least for me, this is tedious. I find it tedious anyway. Okay, that's fine. So I do like to get it out of the way. You know what, that is not, I said that was fine, but it really does not look, it's up too high. Okay, we've all seen me. I don't think there's an album I've done where I have not used my undo. Actually, I didn't really press that down very hard, so let me just check. It may come up without the undo. No, I'm not going to risk tearing it. And this goes back to what I was just saying, is that would have looked okay. I mean, I could leave it, but it would bother me. Whoops. Okay, I just flung the cover of the undo across the room. So let me do this and then I'll get that. This is exactly why I use the score tape. Although honestly, if you're using wet glue, you've got a little bit more time to fool with it, and so you're probably less likely to get it crooked in the first place. I'm just letting this dry. And the undo is, I don't know what it is, but it's some sort of petroleum-based product, I'm sure, and it dries very quickly. And you can see it left the tape. I don't have to retape or anything. I just need to slide it back on there and do a better job this time. Okay. Yeah, that's much better. Much better. Dry fit. It's fine. Looks good. All right. Okay, there we go. All 4 pages in our book. It's looking like a book. All right. And as we talked about, we have quite a bit of space on either side of our pages, but that's because I wanted to leave a lot of room for embellishments and for flaps and whatnot. So let's get started with our first page. And wait a minute. Okay, I just need to cut a piece. All right, so you're gonna need, I need to cut another one. I'll set that aside for the moment. What size? Okay, so this is 5 by 6.5, and I need 2 of those. I've only got 1, so I'm gonna cut another one. So 5 by 6.5. You're going to take each of them and put the 5-inch side across the top of your scoreboard. Score it. Grab my scoring tool at 1/2 inch. Okay, so you're going to do 2 like that. And then both of these, you're going to trim the corners. Again, do not go past your score mark. I should probably have a little trash receptacle of some sort on my desk to catch all these little bits. Okay, just like that. These are cutter bee scissors. I quite like them. All right. Use your bone folder and fold that over. Burnish it well. You can use any bone folder. This is my Teflon bone folder, which I use from almost everything. Sometimes I feel like I should pick up a smaller one, but this does the job. Okay. So what we're going to do, let's get our book, scissors, is we're going to make a double flap, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert this one. Normally I put my flaps just on the top and cover them, but this one we're going to insert like that, and it's going to fold this way. So what I want to do, because I'm putting it inside the side pocket, it should flap freely. Sometimes when you put them on top, this edge would catch and I would need to trim it, but I think it's going to be fine. So this is going to go, so it's in there, it's going to open like this, and then I have this one, right, which is going to sit on top and flap out, so it's a double flap, okay? But because what I was just talking about, the fact that this one is going to be sitting on top of this one, and we cut it full width, I'm just checking it, and I can see I'm going to have to trim maybe 1/8 of an inch off of the unscored side. So just go ahead and do that. And it doesn't matter how much. I mean, you don't want to take too much off, but you know, you don't have to be super accurate. You just want to trim a little bit off, 1/4 of an inch. I eyeballed it. I didn't even measure it, but that's what I took off. Okay. So let us, and we are going to use our glitter glue for this. All right, so for the first piece, you're going to glue here on the inside. Try not to use too much glue. I always use too much glue, just because you don't want it oozing out in there and gluing your pocket shut. There is a side pocket here, which we are going to use. Okay, so you want to insert that. You want to make sure that you do not go past your score mark. Fold it over, make sure it's nice and straight, and then press it down. Okay. That looks good. And you notice I have not put a magnet here. You can use a magnet. Of course, we hadn't reached that point yet, but you can use a magnet, but I have something else that I want to do for this, so. Okay. And again, we have our side pocket. And I'm going to take a scrap that I have here and just insert it in that side pocket, just to make sure it's still opening freely. Okay, and then this is going to go here, you see? And this one I am going to put on top of the other one. So just check to make sure that you don't need to trim it for length at all. That looks good. So this one, the last one you glued on the inside, this one you're going to glue on the outside. Oops. Sorry, I'm off camera and I have a big glob of glue right there. So I'm just going to spread that a little because I don't want it, like I said, I don't want to interfere with anything or have too much glue. This one's a little trickier because it's hard to lay flat. But just go ahead and line it up as best you can along that edge. Wipe any excess glue with your bone folder, with your baby wipe. So now we have, and again, this is a fairly bulky page, but it's okay because we left this extra space for it. And it's turning freely, and it opens like that. Okay, so now, before we forget, I wonder if I should put the closure now. I'm thinking aloud to myself. We should. Okay, hang on a second. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a couple things and we are going to attach the closure and then we're going to make a little pocket. Okay, so hang on one second and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back and I have a few things. I've got some seam binding and I've got a couple of mats and the piece for our pocket because we're going to need a few things to do our next step. What's going to happen here? Now this is white seam binding, okay, but I wanted a rosy color. So what I did is I took the seam binding, here, let me move this out of the way. Took the seam binding, put it on a baggie. I took my Distress ink in Victorian Velvet, opened the stamp pad, of course I'm not going to do it now, but just this was on a plastic bag and I just did that a couple of times to get the color I wanted. Okay, if you want a lighter color, you could use your foam pad and dab it on. Okay. Anyway, so that's how I got my pink. You can buy pink, but I don't know. I usually just buy white and color it. And I kind of like the hand-dyed look you get that way. This is a very pretty one. This is the purchased pink, and you can see it's actually quite close. So, all right. Now, what else you're going to need for this page is a piece of vellum. I purchased, I don't know, a package of this at my office supply store, so it's not hard to find. And it is 5.5 by 6.5. 6.5. And I scored it on 3 sides, and I want to show you how I did that, because vellum, you will poke through this in a heartbeat. I do it a lot. It's very easy to damage this stuff. And even when you've scored it, it doesn't want to bend. So what I like to do is I put it in my scoreboard. This is the tool I usually use to score. It's EK Tools, comes in a set of 3. If you're using a tool like this is the end I normally would use to score things. But on vellum, I use this fatter end. it's much less likely to damage and poke right through. So I put it in, I'm scoring it a 1/2 inch. I just gently score about 3 times, very gently. Flip it over, score the same line again about 3 times, flip it back over and score it again about 3 times. And do that for both long sides and the short side. All right? And just take it easy, be cautious, and you might even want to just cut 2 pieces to start with, because the odds of you damaging one are pretty good. Like I said, I don't know, I damage it a lot, maybe as much as 30% of the time. Okay, so then we're going to trim the corners out like that, up to but not crossing that score line. We're making a pocket here. Just like that. Those. And my scoring tool away. Scissors. You'll see, even though this was scored many, many times, and I'm going to pick it up just to try to make it easier, it really doesn't want to fold. So just go ahead and burnish it really well. Keep that on the other side. Again, I'm sorry, I'm picking it up so I can try to make sure I'm getting it lined up properly. Okay. Oops. Well, even for all that, it looks like it, you can see here, it just went outwards. The hard thing with vellum is, you know, everything shows. So just kind of a wiggly bit there. And you can see it looks like it's tearing a little there on the edge, but I'm okay with that. It's going to look a little rustic, but I can live with that. And then the bottom. Now, take your book. All right, so this is the flap that we made. All right, did you hear my doorbell? I got, covering my address here, I got Happy Mail. We will do a unboxing. So I have no idea what's in there. Okay, let's get back to what we were doing. So we made this pocket, and I think off camera I did a test fit and discovered that mine was a little bit too wide. So you can see a little line there. I rescored it and test fitting it again, made it a little narrower. That's fine. And you can see it's short. Don't worry about that. It was meant to be. Okay. So the next step, now that you've carefully made this, is you're going to go to the top, about 1 inch down, give or take, a little more, a little less, whatever you like, and tear off the top. Make it a little rough. You don't want it too smooth. Just like that. See that? So now we have like, well, not like a torn edge pocket. All right. And we are going to ink this. I'm using walnut stain, Distress Ink walnut stain. And I'm just lightly inking the edge and along the top torn bit. And I like to do a little extra on the corners. And then down this edge. Okay, then I want you to just check where you've torn it and see if you need to make any cuts to the inner flaps so they're not poking up above your torn edge. And just trim those if you need to, okay? So now you have this torn edge pocket. Now, you need a piece to be the mat for this page, okay? So this is the piece I've chosen, and it was the back cover. I guess it goes like that, but I like this on the bottom, so I'm going to turn it that way. And this piece is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. All the mats that are going to be a full page will be that size throughout the book. So what needs to happen is normally you'd put the pocket down, you'd slide this in and glue it into place and be fine. And you can still do it that way if you want. I'm going to do it a little different, and I'm going to show you a different way. So let me pull this over, get this out of the way. And as you can see, I left it slid in there. I'm just going to go ahead and glue this little assembly together first, and then put it in. I'm pointing off camera like you can see me. So I'm going to do this first, and then I'm going to put it in the book. All right. So first things first is I'm going to put a little bit of glue there. All right, and a little bit of glue there. I'm just gluing the bottom to the sides of the pocket. Okay, I just want to turn this over so you understand what I'm doing here. Okay, all of this will be glued down to the page. Then, whatever tags or whatever, I'm trying to find a scrap here, small enough to go in there. Okay, so whatever you're going to put in will slide in here. So everything, all of this, this background paper, the mat, and the sides of the envelope are all going to be glued down. Okay, so hopefully you understand what I'm doing. So I'm just going to reach in here and run a bead of glue there and attach the pocket to the mat. I'm going to repeat that here. I said that it's hard to fold vellum, and it is, but once you do fold it, it tends to stay folded. And then we're going to go down here and glue that. Just going to use my fold folder to burnish that down really well. All right. Now we're going to glue the entire assembly to our book. Okay. Oops, I almost forgot the main reason I'm doing this way. Just hang on one second. That glue will be fine for a minute. I am taking a piece of score tape and I'm putting it about center on the book here, like that. And put one of your pieces of tape there. Okay, now I'm going to take this and center it. Okay. All right. Yeah, there we go. To burnish it really well. And if you need to, like I feel like this corner down here, I don't know if you can see it, needs some glue. So just lift it up, add a little glue, or a lot of glue, if you're like me, and I'll just take care of that. All right, there we go. Now we have our little torn vellum pocket, and of course we're going to be putting something more attractive than this solid piece of cardstock in there. Then, and we have our tie. This is going to be, let me move this, when the book opens, this is the first page you see. So I've chosen a mat, and I've chose this one. And the reason I chose this one is because of this wreath with the text in it. I felt like it looked a little bit like a book plate or a title page, just like the way it looked. And for this page, we're going to need the other piece of ribbon, and it's going to come out this way. So just take a piece of score tape, put it about even with the other piece of ribbon. You should probably burnish that. Peel it off and put your other piece of ribbon here and sticking out in this direction. Okay, and you know what? I just realized I probably should have inked that, and I didn't. It's kind of aged though, it's all right. But we are going to ink this one. All right, I'm so excited to get that done. I forgot all about it. Okay, and again, this is walnut stain. I think I'm going to be using a combination in this book. I haven't decided. I'm definitely using walnut stain. I might use some of that vintage velvet. I haven't decided. Okay, so get that inked. That's so pretty. This paper is gorgeous. This is, as I told you at the beginning, I hope, Stamperia Spring Botanic. And with Stamperia, I always recommend getting at least 2 collections, since you only get one of each paper. I'm going to do my best to do it with one, but I'm already pretty sure it's not going to happen, that I'm going to need at least some of the second collection that I have. Oh, I put it upside down. Oh my goodness. Pay attention, Christina. Okay, there we go. And anyway. Oh, that is so pretty. Look at that. What I was about to say is I did an album using the Stamperia Winter Botanic. This is the Spring Botanic. I would be so happy if they came out with the other 2 seasons. I would love to have a collection. Okay, so now you have your 2 ribbons. And I cut them quite long because I had no idea how much I was going to need. There we go. So obviously I'm going to have to trim that. Like that. But these pieces here, I'd rather cut way too long than just a little too long, because this way, as you'll see, let me trim this. Trim that. Trim that. These 2 pieces are both long enough to use on tags. Whereas if I'd cut them just a little and I ended up with just this much cut off, I wouldn't be able to do much with them. So that's why you do it that way. And let me retie that. If you tie the way I just did the second time and bring the loop around the back, your bow will lie more horizontal, which is what I want. And this is still maybe a little too long, but I just really like that so much. All right, I think we are off to a good start. All right, now I'm gonna wait. I need 1, 2, 3 more mats, but I'm going to wait a little bit on those until we go a little further into the book. All right, so let me demonstrate what I just meant on that bow. Okay, so just start the bow the way you normally do. And typically when you tie a bow, you make the loop and you go around this way. But if you bring it around the back, like instead of going around this way, come around the back and then tie it, your bow will lie more horizontal in your book. Every time it comes out different, but that's all right. Okay, I think that's enough to be going on with. Let me put my pin in my glue. All right, so I hope you follow along and make this with me. I will have all the measurements. And of course I'm giving them to you too as I go along. Again, this is green cardstock, artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations, Stamperia, Spring Botanic. I am not sure it's still available, but I'm sure you can find a pretty floral paper to make it along with me, even if you can't find this one. And also there's a piece of vellum for the pocket and some seam binding. So I think you probably, if you've made some albums, you probably have almost all this stuff in your stash. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video in the series. And if you have any comments or questions, I'd be happy to help you out. Answer down below. Excuse me, comment down below was what I meant to say. And I will see you the next time. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.